I'm very honored and pleased to be here this evening to chair this public forum on Christian minorities in the Middle East. This is a subject which has been researched and discussed by historians and others over many decades, if not hundreds of years. And there has been a certain debate, difference of opinion regarding the state of Christians in the Middle East over 2 millennia. In the literature, as we would say, there have been those who've said that Islam proved itself to be tolerant and open to allow Christians to maintain their faith and identity, their church activities, their historic languages perhaps, uninterrupted despite falling under Islamic rule. Other historians, political commentators said this is not the case, and the historical truth is the opposite, that Islam was intolerant, marginalizing, discriminating, and threatening the very lives of Christians in the Middle East. This evening we'll have an opportunity, as was said, to hear two representatives from ancient communities in the Middle East. No less the Jews are an ancient community in the Middle East, and there's something striking about the fact, as was intimated by Petra and Alan, that in Israel, the Jewish state, we are discussing the question of Christians in the Middle East. The Arabs, the Muslims, have a traditional idea of saying that there are Saturday people and Sunday people. The mic is a little bit with a ring to it, isn't it? No? Sounds okay? Okay, only I hear it. The Muslims would traditionally refer to the Jews as the Saturday people and the Christians as the Sunday people. And their idea was to say, in the Islamic idiom of ruling over Jews and Christians, that it is first the turn of the Saturday people and then it's the turn of the Sunday people. What was meant by that aphorism is that first the Jews will be victimized, violated, and maybe destroyed. And then the Sunday people would be next in turn, which is to say the Christians, and they would meet the same kind of fate. But this evening we have, as it were, the Saturday people hosting the Sunday people in a spirit of harmony and cooperation and for common goals, that the Middle East be, return to be, ever more so be, the public space of all peoples, and no less the ancient peoples of the Middle East, like the Egyptian Copts, and we will hear from an Egyptian Copt, and the Assyrian Christians, another ancient people in this region. What I would like to ask of the speakers, including Dr. Mordechai Nisan, what I would like to ask of the speakers, beyond the specific comments that they will make about the respective subjects, is if they can propose not only a look back at the history of Christians in the Middle East, but despite the difficulties the Christians are now undergoing in the Middle East, if they have thoughts about a strategy, modes of operation and policy to survive, Christians in Iraq, let us say, Christians in Egypt, Christians in Lebanon, Syria, no less these very days, if they could offer thoughts about strategies of survival, what could they do? What could these minority Christian communities do in order to persevere under terribly difficult, tenuous conditions? The Jewish experience in history, as we all know, was that when we suffered, we as a people, tremendous prejudice and discrimination and physical threat and more, that part of the Jewish people developed a national conception of Jewish history in returning to the territorial homeland. And miraculously, the Jewish minority became a Jewish majority here in the land of Israel and in the state of Israel. Could Christian communities, Christian minorities in different Middle Eastern countries, where their numbers are dwindling, yet mount a campaign to try and arrest the tide of history, to shift the movement of ethnic cleansing against Christians, marginalization of Christians, destruction of churches in Arab lands and the like? Could there be a plan within the Middle East and in terms of the West outside of the Middle East on behalf of turning this situation around because, honestly, the historical trends are very threatening to the well-being, if not survival, of Christians in the Middle East in the years ahead. So this is a question that I pose to our three distinguished speakers, who we will have the honor to hear from. And in this respect, we are allowing the Middle Eastern Christians and those who are familiar with them and feel for their plight to speak on their behalf. We're not talking about the Muslim world per se. We want to say that the subjects of the talk are the Christians, though they be the objects of Muslim persecution. We want to take as a starting point the validity of Christians being able to persevere in the heartlands of the region of the Middle East, despite they having been victims for 2 millennia.